All right, and we're live. Hey, folks, we're just popping on a little bit early just in case we have technical problems and have to jump onto another platform. But it's a beautiful day outside, so I thought, what the heck? I'm going to live stream from my backyard and enjoy the sunshine and invite you to my home so that you can enjoy this. We want you to participate on the live chat there too. Get yourselves involved and let us know that you're here. And I'll be starting officially just in a couple minutes at 1 o'clock. So we want to give people time to jump on and to just heavy duty that's going to blow your brains out. Really, my desire is to encourage you today, have a little devotional time with you at my home and me being in your home. And so we're just going to, seek God together and see what He has for us today and see how we might even encourage one another. So let's give the rest of the folks some time to jump on with us. And again, if you're coming on, say, hey, I'm here. This is so-and-so from Pflugerville or whatever it is. And as soon as we're all together, we'll start with a kumbaya and sing some good song. No, we won't do that. But listen, tonight, I do believe that Rob and tonight and to encourage you and to encourage you in your homes, because we know that it's not fun to be in the home. What time is it now? Is it start? I got on a few minutes early just to make sure that everything was working technically. So good to have you. Pastors giving us a special love for people, and it's difficult for me not to see your face. Anyways, people have been calling the church. There are two things that you can be doing that would help us all, and we could huge. We had someone, an elderly person, contact the and multitudes for the have compassion on our fellow brother and sister and look in on one another and pray. Amen. Well, I love Exodus chapter 33, and it speaks what is called social distancing. And did you know that there was a man long distancing avoid was a fatal disease that was more serious as SNPS. How many have heard of SNPS? It stands for Stiff-Neck People Syndrome. Stiff-Neck People Syndrome. And it was taking down more people than the coronavirus ever did. How does somebody know if they have stiff-neck syndrome? Well, it starts with a hard head and a hard heart. And that's where the Israelites were when Exodus chapter 33 was written. They became very hard-headed. And when Moses was on that, Israel was waiting at the foot of the presence of God 40 days, they said, enough of this. And so they took all their ornaments and they put them in a fire, and they came up with this golden calf. And that wasn't a new idea. This was something that was very familiar to them back in Egypt. That was a god that they worshiped. It was the god of Apis, who was over, was the god of fertility and so forth. And so they had their little party around this golden calf and did lewd things and so forth. So that's where we find the nation of Israel as we get into Exodus chapter 33. God was not happy with what was happening there. And when Moses came down from the mountain, he also had a cow. That's a little joke there. But let's read in Exodus chapter 3, beginning in verse 1, where it says this: Then the Lord said to Moses, Depart and go up from here, you and the people whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt, to the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, To your descendants I will give it. The Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Uptite, Jebusite, Outosite, Allrite, Manontites. So go up to a land to them. I will not go up in your midst. Wow. Now, here we see that God did some social distancing himself. I also want you to notice that he does keep his promise. The promise was, I'm going to get you to the land flowing with milk and honey. I'm going to get you to there is one change of plans, that God will not be joining him. Now understand that this is totally, he would have no other choice but to judge them. Practicing idolatry and judge you, but he angel. Now, if you're following in a Bible, you'll notice that angel is that's a view that I share. That this was Jesus. That even with us, God became man so that he could be near to us. People heard this bad news. They saw it as bad news. Although they had distanced themselves from dating to them. They say to the children, strip themselves of their ornaments by Mount Horeb. That God's presence is no longer with them. I mean, you even carnal Jesus. From that. So they are mourning this great loss, and they're instructed by God himself to be in a place of mourning and to lose the ornaments. And I think another reason why they're being told to remove their ornaments is because, well, we saw what they did last time. They melted their ornaments so that they could worship a golden calf. That's not going to happen again. God's making Moses took his tent. Now he's in a mass of people. Some estimate 1.5 million, others as high as 3 million people. And Moses, he took his tent and he pitched it outside of the camp, away from the masses, away from the multitude, far from the camp, it says. He didn't just go outside of the camp, he went far from the camp, and he called it the tabernacle. A meeting, which was outside the camp. You talk about social distancing. Moses, he was a pioneer in this. He goes far outside of the camp. Not just outside the camp, he's going far outside of the camp. Why? Because time with God without interference, without distraction, without having to worry about what these other people are going to do that have the stiff necks. To go to draw. Moses did. We need to find a time if you don't have a time that you spend with God, if you don't have a place where you spend with God, you need to decide today to do that. And what a perfect opportunity for that to happen. And restricted to our homes unless we need to go to this thing. The coronavirus hasn't surprised God, but I might, and I would encourage you to do that too. And some of these new ways to us. Listen to this too. Everyone who sought the Lord, they could go to the tabernacle of meeting too. What's interesting in this story is there's no takers. Well, existent, and all the others, they're remaining back at camp. It's like, hey, that's great. You're seeking God, and we appreciate God too. But we're not going to go crazy over this. We're comfortable where we're at. But Joshua and Moses are the ones who see and this amazing encounter with God. You see, there's a promise in the Bible that says that God rewards those. He rewards those who diligently seek Him, not those who seek Him half practical. Is what we see. Moses went out to the tabernacle, that all the people rose, and each man stood at his tent door, and look what they did. They watched Moses until he had gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass when Moses entered the tabernacle that the pillar of cloud, the Lord talked with Moses. Now, the rest of the people back at camp, they only see God. This was the cloud that led the nation of Israel through the wilderness by day. And only Moses, along with Joshua, are ones who enter into the presence of God. The rest, those back at camp, they're spectators. With God, we'll just park. We'll just kind of stay here and we'll wave at God from afar. Hey, God. Relationship. This is what separates those who have religion and those who have a relationship. We're not getting what the Christian faith is all about. We should have that stirring within us to not just know Him, but to know Him more. And these guys back at camp, they're practicing religion. They stand at the doors and they pay their respects to God. They're worshiping Him from a distance. But Moses, quite a different story. He's right there with God. There's another promise in the Bible that goes like this: draw near to the Lord and He will draw near to you. Draw near to the Lord and He will draw near to you. That's a promise. And this is one that we see being played out in Exodus 33 with Moses. He's a good example of that. It's nice that the others are at their doors, but only Moses. They're having this quality conversation time. What a beautiful thing that is. And it goes on to say in verse 10, and we'll finish at verse 11, all the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the tabernacle door. So the Lord spoke to Moses face to face as a man speaks. He's speaking to him just like I'm speaking to you right now, face to face as a friend. And Moses would return to camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart from that. But he had to get back there, unfortunately. But, the people back at camp, they saw the cloud, they worshiped from afar. That's how it is with religious folk. It's not that they don't worship, but they worship Moses. God speaks to him face to face as a friend. That's called relationship, fellowship, communion. And this is what pleases God more than anything. He longs for relationship. He desires fellowship. Do you understand? This is why Jesus went to the cross and died for our sins 2,000 years ago by sin from God. And Jesus, he could be brought back into a right relationship with him and have fellowship with them and communicate with them. And so what I would like to encourage you today with is that we are in lockdown and restricted to our homes, all for good reason, all to keep us safe. But let's make the most of this. Let's take advantage of what we have and use this time to fellowship with God, to get to know Jesus better, to draw near to him. You have the time, find the place, get alone with God, and just enjoy this special relationship that we can have in Christ, friendship with God. That's my encouragement to you. I'll be doing this next Wednesday, same time. And for those who miss it, it will be reposted on social media and our website. The Lord bless you today. And have a good